Okay, hello everyone. This class is talking about how to design the navigation button layout. It's such like this app we can display for you, and we can see that the frame here, they have the four pages that the user can switch between the different fragments. And the first one is the home, and second one is the display. So when the user to push the button below here, it can switch for different fragments here, such as navigation and settings. So how to decide for this layout for the fragment, and we will start it with the new activity here. So we build a new one, new project, and at this time we won't use the empty activity. We will use the different one. We will use it for the button navigation activity, and this one is which was built by the Android Studio. It's the default empty architecture here, so we can select this one and also modify the project name. We can call it button navigation. So we can click finish and start a new project here. So before to design the navigation button app here, we will to introduce what's the difference between the example that we have taught in previous classes, such as for the change the activity between the two activities. It's the different one because when we push the button of the navigation, it was such like the frame out, so it's also changed the frame here, not the full page of the activity. So we can make good use of this page layout to organize the different contents, such as we can divide the page into home, dashboard, navigation, or settings. And then, so we need to create a new fragment of the settings here. The difference here is that we can use the pre-configured interface, and we can modify and edit functions through this framework. So in this project, we will use the button navigation activity as our new project. And before we started with the page designing, we can view the current page as the three button fragment here. So for this one, we can click for the UI. We can see the three different fragments here, and they have two classes in each fragment. And also, we can see that it also have the different navigation button here, and the layout of each fragment here. So, and then we will to decide below the different fragment by the step. So at the first step, as I say, we want to add a new fragment here for the settings. So we will start it for it. Click the UI and right button for a new package, and we can call it settings. Maybe we use Okay, and they have also two classes below the each fragment here, so we can edit the two classes is below the settings. So we can copy it. And oh, by the way, they have two types. You can edit the classes inside the settings. For example, you can click a new and select the Java class, and we can edit the class name here, such as setting new model, just like this here. So we only to change the name below here as each fragment name. So we can edit the new one here. And another way, you can copy the different folders classes and also to paste it inside the settings folder. So we can copy and paste it, and it will allow you to rename the classes. So we can rename for it, and we copy it, settings fragment, and click OK. So they have two types that you can create the new classes here, but we can see that if you create the empty one, you need to type in the more codings inside it, and I think it's easy one to copy the another framework classes. So maybe we can just modify some vectors inside the clause, such as, for example, this is the settings fragment. So we can copy it name, and it need to replace let me see here. It's the navigation's view model, but we have the new one settings viewing model, so we can rename it. Settings viewing model, and also to create a new variable here. And replace it here with the setting model, and here okay, and the other side we need to modify the setting model here, because we get some errors here. So we go to the viewing setting model, and also we can to copy the code here and go to the setting model and paste it, and rename for the setting model here. And also it have the values we need to modify for the settings fragment, and then we go back to the settings framework here, so we can see that all the errors have been disappeared. And the next step, we are going to set up the button for the settings here. Each framework have the different items for the each layout, so we need to add a new one for it. So now we can go to here for the drawable, and you can see that have the different items here, so we need to add a new one. So right button, new picture assist. So we can see the icon here, and we can click up here, and also to use the keyword to search for the icons. So we can see that each have the maybe the Bluetooth settings, power button, and microphones, and such buttons that you can select for being used in different scenes that you want. So I can select it for the settings here and click OK. And also you can rename it and the resize of the icon, and also to change the color for it. So maybe you can change for a red one. In my classes, I don't want to change for it, and it also can modify the opacity here, so you can modify by yourself. I just select 85% for it and click the next, and it will to save in your drawable, so we can click finish. And then we are going to set out the XML file for the settings here, because we can see that they all only have the activity main and display, home, and navigation. So we will add the new one for the settings. You also can copy for the navigations.xml file and paste it, and we can rename for fragment settings. And then we can go inside and click for the code. The one thing we need to modify here is the UI.navigations here. The name we need to change for the settings fragment. So it can compare to here, the UI.settings fragment. So we can see the folder is here. And the next step, we are going to modify for the navigation menu XML file here. So we can go to the button menu here, button navigation menu. XML file. So when I open it, we can see that we only have 3 navigation buttons here, so we will need to add the new one for the settings. And we also can change for the code and to copy for the item, and rename for the navigation button here. It's the settings. And also the icon here, we need to change it for the settings icon. So we can go back to design, and we can see the attribute here icon, and click learn here, and we can select the new one we already created by the previous step. and select OK. And then we go back to our code. The next one is here. The string for the title navigation, we need to change it for the settings. And we can see that it have the string error here because we haven't defined for the title settings here. So maybe we can go to the values and see the strings and added a new one for the settings title. So we also copied from the title navigation here and to set the settings. Its value need to change for the settings. And then we go back to our button navigation menu, and we can see that the arrow has been disappeared here. Okay, the next step we are going to the mobile navigation XML file, and also when I open it, we can see the 3 navigation fragments here for the home, dashboard, and the navigations. And we need to add a new one, so we click for the new fragment. We can see that it also have the fragment settings here, so we can double click and that it can have the suitable place to display for our fragment. And we can go to the code. Okay, inside the fragment settings here, we need to change for its ID for compare another one, so we need to modify it. Navigation settings for its new ID. And another one is the label here. We need to set up as the string title navigations. So we need to for the string titles and settings here. And we check it again. So we can see that the name have been changed for the navigation settings here. Okay. And the last step is we are going to the main activity, and we can see that the function here is used to let the navigation button can select the different layout of the fragments such as the dashboard, home, and navigations and settings. But we can see that the new app bar configuration also only have the home, dashboard, and the navigation. So we need to add the new one for settings. So we will add it for r.id.setting. So we can go to navigation settings. Okay, and then we can let our emulator to start it and to see the result of our new fragment. Okay, now our app have been installed in the emulator, so we can see that the dashboard and the navigation and settings here, all the settings we have been done by this step to edit the new one for the settings button and to change it for the settings fragment here. So you can follow this step to complete all the projects that can be used different a fragment by ourselves and to edit it. And you can complete this app, and we can continue to do some practice later. Okay, what can we do in this fragment settings? For example, if we want to change the layout of the fragment for the dashboard here, dashboard is this one, so maybe we can click here and to edit some items inside the fragment. We can edit the button just for the example. Okay, when we to rebuild the app inside our emulator, we can see the result. Okay, when we switch to dashboard, it will have the button that I will just build here. And then if we want to design for the settings page, we can also change to the settings page and edit the button for it, and we will see some error inside it. Okay, we can see that is the dashboard and is the setting, but we can see the button inside the settings page because they have some settings of the fragment in the setting. We need been changed for it, so we go back to the settings fragment classes and to modify for the code here. The first one is we need to create the new fragment settings binding here. And then to change for the private binding for fragment settings. Okay, so we modify the 3 parts of the settings fragment and to rebuild the app. Okay, now we go to the dashboard. It's normal here. And then we can see the settings. It will have the button, so it only need to change the fragment settings binding here. Okay, now it's your turn. I wanted you to design the main page here to show up the personal information, such as your personal file. You can create a picture here and some description of yourself, such as your birth and such as a phone number and your school name and your major, and to modify for the main homepage with your personal information profile here. And then the next part is you need to combine with the login app with the fragment inside the same app. After the user has successfully logged into this app, he or she will be able to access the fragment screen here. So before to open this fragment, I want that you need to edit the login application, and when the user have the correct password and account name and login, it will show up this screen here, and you can choose switch a different side of the fragment. Okay, so now it's your turn to finish the job that I just talked to you.